in the house? Anyone? Anyone? I know you're here, because people have told me, but they never admit to being in my talks. So I got a quick, I'm going to start a timer here so I don't go over time. I got a quick little anecdote. When I gave this talk at Black Hat last year, I was thinking, how can I start the talk to be interesting? How can I get this talk to be really fun and dynamic? So I said, okay, so I want you guys to play along too. Put up your hands if you've ever audited or done a security assessment or some kind of pen test on a mainframe. Put up your hands. Way up high. High. Keep them up. So in my Black Hat audience, a room this size full of people, all the hands were up. All right? That's good, right? They're all doing security administration work. They're trying to audit the machine. They're trying to do security work. Great. Then I asked them to keep their hand up if they've ever actually worked on a mainframe. If they've actually been a system programmer, well, this dude back here has. If they've ever been a system programmer or if they've ever been an administrator or any kind of work on the mainframe, all the hands went down but one hand. And it was because he had just switched from being a security guy to a system programmer because they get paid more. All right? And so to me, that was really shocking. I actually expected there to be at least a few hands up in a room full of like 100, 200 people. But no. So that's sort of the disconnect between, like, look, all the hands are down. None of you guys are system programmers except for you in the back. You were at my Austin talk. Yeah, you were, yeah. So it's just funny how the community, this community, who's in charge of assessing the mainframes and testing the security of the platform, really has never actually administered or done anything in terms of running that platform. But if I ask the same question, say, how many of you have done a Linux pen test or some kind of Linux security work? Whole bunch of hands, well, one hand goes up. Liars. And then if I asked you how many of you have run a Linux box, all the hands would go up because it's super easy and it's accessible. The mainframe is not accessible, and so that puts you guys at a disadvantage already. This talk is going to help sort of get through that disadvantage a little bit and teach you some cool hacking skills. Now I got to put this disclaimer up. I'm here as a private individual. I'll read right from the slide here. I am not here in the name of or on behalf of my employer. I am here solely because of personal research I've done in personal time. Okay, that's how it goes. So, who am I? Why am I here? Why am I talking about this topic? Okay, this is my third time at B-Sides. I love B-Sides. I started as a mentee. My very first talk at B-Sides was as a mentee. My very first talk ever was the mentee track. But I'm sort of a one-trick pony, right? All I do, mainframes. That's all I do. Come talk to me about Ubuntu. Whatever, I don't give a shit. Mainframes, especially ZOS and IBM mainframes, that's my jam. Don't bother coming to me with like a kick-ass cross-site scripting. I don't care. So since I gave that talk at B-Sides 2 years ago, I've spoken at a few other conferences since then. I'm not going to read them all, but interestingly enough, Cher has asked me to give a talk. So that's the conference for mainframe people. So that should be fun. I may get lynched. And DEF CON later this week, I'm going to be giving a similar talk that's going to be covering different things, but still mainframes, because that's all I know. So this talk, like I mentioned, this talk is going to be about ZOS, Z-Series. If you're an AS400, OS, or i5, whatever they changed the name to, this is not the talk for you. You might get some cool things from it, but this is the biggest big iron that huge financial, military, airline, travel, banking are running. This is not for, like, Caesars runs an AS400 and that's kind of cute, but I'm talking global, huge mainframes that take up multiple racks in the data center, and they're using up a lot of electricity and making a lot of heat and processing, what? A couple 100,000 transactions a minute, right? That's what I'm talking about here. I'm only talking about rack F, so if ACF 2 shop and top secret, you can breathe a sigh of relief, because I'm not going to talk about that at all. There's no tools that exist for any of those security products. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go read up about Top Secret and ACF2, because I don't have time. And I mentioned ASCII art. If I have time, we'll see. So, legitimately, why am I giving this talk, right? Mainframes are not a legacy platform, ever. They never were. People call them legacy. Oh, they get away with murder because it's a legacy platform. Oh, I don't need to do this. It's legacy. It doesn't have to have an 8-character password. It can go do 4. That's fine. It's a legacy platform. Who cares that it's processing all of my banking transactions? That's cool. It's cool. Who cares that Amex is running it through? Just 4. 4 is cool. No, this is not a legacy platform. A lot of them, though, I'll say, especially on the RackF mailing list, they're not up to date. There's posts from people who are like, hey, how do I upgrade from the equivalent of how do I upgrade from Windows 2000 to 2008 server? What's the upgrade path for that? That's what they're talking about. Well, more like NT in some cases. Like we're talking like ZOS 104, which is super old, and they're talking about upgrading to the most recent version. That means they haven't been upgraded for a while. All this information is public. This is not anything secret. This is just out there, and it's available for free. IBM gives it up for free. And you guys all suck for not having learned this yourselves. I should not be the one up here talking about this. I'm not some super crazy hacker guy. And I'm having to talk about this. You guys should be the ones up here talking about this topic. When I gave my Black Hat talk, there was a really interesting article that came out afterwards about a guy who was like, well, who cares about your mainframe if you can't secure your Linux and Windows boxes? I was like, listen. If you've got Windows and Linux problems, yeah, you got problems. Fix that shit first. I'm going to swear in the talk, so if that offends anybody. You got to fix that shit first, because there's a lot more, and there's a lot more exploits for that. But when we're talking about military or large financial organizations, they have that stuff locked down. They've had that stuff locked down for years. And yet they've left the mainframe to fester by itself. Why? Now I'm going to skip to the bottom slide. Because the business people have been told it's secure by the engineers, and then those engineers have retired, and the only engineers that are left who assume it's secure. And anytime you try to point something out to them, they get all upset, because they're like, oh, well, no, you have to prove it. You have to prove everything. And I'll be proving some stuff here today. The community is really awful, the mainframe community overall. It's really not a welcoming community at all. I'll show an example here. This is a good one. If you guys can read this. Here we go. So this person just asked, like, hey, this command doesn't work because he had a typo. And the person, so you can see way up here, like, oh, he was trying to do something. He's trying to transfer some data, and it's all messed up. And then this guy freaking just rips him a new one. Please go back and post what I asked for. Okay, that's fair enough. If you will not post what is requested, it is nearly impossible to help you. Not giving any guidance at all. He literally asked for the data on the non-mainframe box. This guy's talking about a production system, and he's asking to see an example of the data. But he didn't say example. He's like, just give me the straight-up data for this box. And this is a mild case. I had to quickly find this while I was sitting outside because I wanted to give an example. I've seen some, like literally, 2/3 of the posts are just read the fucking manual. The 11,000-page manual, which is one volume of 13. And so it's not a very welcoming community. The other challenge, like I mentioned, people who know about this platform are starting to retire out. They're starting to leave the industry. And they're taking all this knowledge that they have with them. And so we're losing incredible talent, and we're not really hiring that much talent. Like, I saw 2-3 people put up their hands who were doing this kind of research, and I saw no people put up their hand who actually touched a mainframe. So the other thing, and it's sad, is that on the security mailing lists for the mainframe, there actually are people starting to die off. It's not, I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's not funny. Because like they've retired, and now they've actually aged out from doing any kind of helping in the mainframe world, and they were the guys who invented the security. And we're losing all that knowledge. And no one's taken up the challenge to transfer it to them. This is an example from the RACF mailing list of how absolute the statements can be from a mainframe engineer. You can read some of it if you can see it, but also all the DoD mainframes are behind firewalls and VPNs. Wonderful statement. I know that's a wrong statement, so I emailed him offline, and I said, hey, just FYI, that's not entirely true. If you click this link, you'll see this guy is online and available publicly to the internet, right? Now hold on, hold on. This is publicly available, just chilling on the internet. I drive by, take a screenshot, and move on. I don't do anything, I don't touch it. I do that over Tor. I'm admitting that, right? No, the reason I do it over Tor is because some of them show my IP address. I'll show you an example here. So some of them share the IP address, and that kind of sucks. Because if I'm giving demo, I'm actually uploading these to a separate website 3 times a day. So I've collected a whole bunch. These are all internet-connected mainframes. I'll show you guys a cool one that I like. Let's see, I think it's 217 here.
What each 3
Yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. 333. Yeah, there's. So, whoa, whoa, hello. Okay. Can anybody read what this says? All right, that's Egypt Air. So that's kind of cool, right? There's an Egypt Air mainframe just chilling out. And they tell you what programs they're running, so you can just straight up just type that in and start accessing some cool shit. And that's an airline, right? Iceland Air's on there. There's a whole bunch of, like, a lot of government stuff is on there. A lot of schools. Weird thing, like Inglewood in, like, LA County has a mainframe to do, I guess, student grade processing, right? And like I was saying, the IP address, that's not my IP address. I'm not stupid. That's why I do it over Tor. Okay, so that's, and I have a website that publishes those all the time, and it's super awesome. The problem is IBM's disclosure policy kind of sucks. I got to thank this guy over here for pointing this out to me. It really sucks. Basically, they're saying, I'm going to summarize real quick. They say, it's better for our customers if we don't disclose the security vulnerabilities that are brought to our attention. And we will not make CVEs. And we won't tell you if the patch fixes a security problem. Right? So sometimes there are shadow patches that patch a security vulnerability that you didn't know you had. Which is fine, but they don't even disclose it. At least Microsoft says, hey, there was a buffer overflow and this patch fixed it. Or this problem on the Oracle thing was doing whatever, so this is fixing that. But nothing like that. It says, install this thing to fix your Unix partition, and it'll do some upgrade to NetView, but it's doing some other stuff behind the scenes you have no idea. And I'll demonstrate what I mean by that. And oh, by the way, that's recent.
They sent in response when we asked them about the exposure on USS.
Yeah.
That they said, well, this is consistency,
Yeah, that's a great security policy from 1996. Right? When I guarantee you when that was written, we're like, well, we should nip this in the bud and just not let it happen. Alrighty, so that's it. So the rest of the talk is going to be really demo heavy. I'm going to try to get through as much as I can. I like the interactivity, so if you guys have any questions, you want to see something, you missed something, you're like, hey, what was that thing you just did and that looked cool? I'll go back and redo it. Call it out. I see a lot of people sitting near the front. Just yell it out, because the point is to get you guys exposed to this platform. So we're going to connect to my mainframe. All right, you guys can barely read that, so that's great. And then, all right, it's kick-ass demo time. Let's see here. Can you guys see that at all? Can you guys kind of see it? If I zoom in, yeah, you can see parts of it, right? All right, so I'm going to log in as a user here. Let's see if it works. All right. You guys can't see that at all, huh? All right. There, I'll do like this. Yeah, I wonder if we could just, yeah. Because it's being recorded, they can't kill the lights. No. That's fine. Well, all right. Well, that's great. Well, all right. I'll show some quick demos here, and then we'll try to move on. So, yeah. So IBM has a VM that they offer, and called RDZ, and I'll talk about that later. So that's great for my demos that you guys can't see. So that's awesome. These guys can see it. If you want to move up to see some cool stuff, I'll try to walk through. No, I think I can, but I don't have enough time to stick around here and try to figure it out. So real quick, I'll just do some real quick. You know what? I'm just going to skip the command line. Basically, this is TSO. You can type cool commands. You can do netstat, home. You guys can see the green text, so that's good. Not homey, so that's great. So you can see that. I mean, you guys can't really see the output, but you can see I type netstat. Netstat just shows you, like regular netstat. But I'll get out of this because you guys can't see it. Basically, you can type regular commands. You can do like a listing of files. You can FTP from here. Regular stuff. Nobody uses this because it's arcane and it's hard to use. I enjoy using it, but so we'll get into what's basically the equivalent of the GUI on a mainframe, right? This is called ISPF. Maybe if I change my resolution, maybe that'll work. Let's see here. No, they can't do it. Let's see if we can change this. Ooh, is that gonna work? That might be better. All right, that's much better. You guys can see that now? Yeah, now it's way too freaking big. I'll just lower the screen format here. Well, you guys are going to have to live with it. That's about as good as I can get it. All right, so this is the GUI equivalent on the mainframe. I really don't use it that much. You can go to 3.4. 3.4 shows you cool stuff you can do. If I wanted to look at my files, these are the files I have. You can edit these files. It's kind of cool editor. This is a JCL file, right? So in JCL, it's like a batch file, except here, instead of like a shebang, you have a program that you execute. So I'm executing this program. The program's going to be 8 characters long, and then it's got all these options to do kind of cool stuff, and then it's going to dump it to a specific file down here. Whoa. So that's one file. That's one example of a file. And then here we can do, let's see. So this is another example of another file. Now hopefully I logged in with it. So this is a rec script, which is the equivalent of like Python on the mainframe. It's a scripting language. It's really powerful. You can do some kind of cool stuff with it. This script specifically tells you the logged on users to TSO because there's no real easy way to do it in TSO. So you can execute this command just like I was doing like a TSO command. I can type TSO. Here, I'll zoom in and show you guys. All right, TSO. So let's see if I can zoom out a little bit more. There. So you can see here it showed the logged in users are, there's 2 users who are logged in right now. Right? Obviously there'd be a lot more on a regular mainframe, but this is not a regular mainframe. I mean, it is for all intents and purposes. So now, you guys are definitely not going to see this part because it's all blue. So I'll get out of this. Let's go 2. That's fine. So you guys can't see that at all. That's just Linux. Well, Unix. It's Unix running in ZOS, right? So there's like a whole... On the mainframe, you'll have ZOS, right? That's the base operating system. And you have like TSO, which is command line stuff and accessing data sets. You have Unix, which lets you do all kinds of, it's a POSIX compliant environment, it has all the Unix components, and I'll do a demo of how you can break into that and get root. And then you have like kicks and all these other kind of components, right? So that's how it's sort of made up. Usually when I first learned about this, it blew my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, it's running Unix like in the background, and then we're just interacting it with like a program on top? No, it's running alongside-ish. I don't have time to really get into the details, but that's of a, if you want to come see me afterwards, I'll tell you. So you guys can't see that. That's terrible. But I can do like ID dash. There you go. Show me my user ID. All right. So that's the demo. Let's see here. I'll turn this off. Any questions about ZOS? Anything you guys want to see? As if you guys can see anything. Anything you'd like me to do, and maybe I can tell you what the output looks like?
So that whole, like, the mainframe's behind firewalls, or it's not the web layer, it's not the application layer, it's on the back end, but, like, if you've got Unix out there, there's nothing to stop you from SSHing or anything like that outbound or creating.
No, it's just like, I mean, you can telnet straight from TSO. There's no, you don't need like a special reason. You can FTP from TSO. You can do an outbound netcat connection if you really wanted to. Yeah, kind of. So when I did all that mainframe hunting, I used Shodan a little bit. And I actually talked to the guy who created Shodan. Him and I talked back and forth. It's hard because they don't have a banner. So and Shodan uses banners, right? Versus Nmap, it does some analysis of the packets and it can tell you what the OS and what the service is running. So I use Nmap, but I use Shodan to find other services like FTP, which have a distinct banner. That like IBM V1 R5 or whatever. Then I port scan that system to see if it's got the regular ports for those screens open. That's one way of hunting them down. Okay, so we did this. I'm going to skip through this. All right, good. Now that you guys didn't see any of that demo, we're mainframe masters. Okay? If you guys didn't get anything from that demo, there's 12,000 pages worth of manual you can read to become this level of expertise. But what can we do with that? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was curious. So a lot of mainframes, you're an average system user. You log in, you're given the option to enter your whatever main production program.
Yep.
How do you break out of that? Can you break out of it?
Not on the TSO side. Well, you can if you have APF authorized libraries, but I was just talking about that. I don't really have the expertise yet to do that, but you can with APF authorized libraries. There's actually videos on YouTube showing guys who have done it. They don't tell you how because they don't want to share that information. But
Question, though, is like absolutely the right question. I mean, those
Yeah.
are the kinds of questions that if you went on one of these mainframe chat boards and asked it, they would say, well, why would you want to do that?
yeah, not only that, they would say, go ask your system programmers to do how you do that.
But nobody's thinking about it from that level of like, well, what if I just went and tried to?
Yeah.
Right? Because
Well, just start. I mean, who's the freaking key?
it's the reason.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a $10 million box that you're not going to do that on, but if you have it on virtual machine money.
Well, how many guys work in a shop where you're not allowed to touch the mainframe? Where you're not allowed to even look at it with like a ping? Because the most secure platform on the planet can't handle a ping sweep, right?
Crash MQ.
Oh yeah, you're going to crash whatever all the time, but it's super rock solid security-wise. So that's why, and I'll talk to you guys how to get your own emulated mainframes, and you can work with IBM to do that, and it'll be up and up, and you guys can start doing the same kind of work that I've been doing. All right, so whatever. We're going to try to hack the unhackable, okay? There's multiple easy ways. I've updated AirCap so it supports TSO, so you can sniff credentials straight off the line. Oftentimes, when you pop a Windows box or Linux box, there'll be scripts in there that'll FTP stuff to the mainframe, or it's getting stuff from the mainframe. Those will have FTP credentials in them. Funny thing is, to use FTP, you need access to the Unix part. And if they left Telnet open, you can, in some misconfigured situations, access the Unix partition because they didn't say, don't give this person a shell or a home, because their automated script just gave them a shell and a home, right? And then bad CGI. Yes, CGI still exists in large environments for user management, all kinds of stuff. And there's so many more ways, just like you were talking about, there's so many more ways, and I don't have time to talk about all of them, because I don't know all of them. So I'm going to assume for the rest of this talk, for the rest of the demos, that we've stolen an FTP, so I just used Dade. I'm going to use that for the rest of the talk. We've stolen a username and password, and we can use it to access FTP and Unix and all that stuff, okay? That's the assumption. Now, we also found out that there's a really terrible website that someone put together that lets you do to check if someone's ID is revoked. Right? Someone put this because you see this in corporations all the time on the mainframe. They put together some custom app to see if the user ID is good or to do some kind of user administration, right? So let's see, I can zoom in. There we go. So you can type in a user ID, and then it goes. It's thinking about it, and it shows you the status of the user, right? So it tells you what their groups are, and it tells you all the information. This way you don't have to log into the mainframe every time you got to check up on a user. That would be a pain in the ass. This makes my life easier as a user administrator. Problem is, they didn't really code it right. So if you look at the URI, LU, I recognize LU because I was supposed to give it to you in the demo, stands for list user. So I recognize that, and just my username. So if I change this to list user, I should get the exact same output. Look at that, the exact same output. Okay, well, what if now I know what the list user command can take as commands, so I'm going to add on some more commands here to see if if I'm right. And yeah, so I'm right. So okay, so now I know it's doing some kind of funky thing. So it's actually just executing commands in the TSO address space and displaying it here. Terrible design. Whoever designed this is an idiot.
But it's got a firewall.
Oh yeah, it's behind the firewall. It's fine. So I'm going to not list users anymore. Well, actually, I'm going to list one. I know the name of the system administrators who are on the box because I did my recon research. So I know who is on the box. Now, I think it's Margot. So let's see. Yep. Oh. And look at that. I'm right. That user exists. So I can use this, and I'm using this to profile. Okay, so that's fine. So now I know, and sure enough, this user has special, and I'll talk about special later. But good, they have special in operations. That's a really good thing to know if you're if you're trying to look at users and find users whose accounts you want to compromise. Okay, last thing I need to know is I need to know where the rackf database is. And since I know it takes commands, I'm just going to type a simple command here, and it's going to show me where the rackf database is stored. That command is open to everybody, rvary. If you just type it when you're logged into a mainframe in TSO, it just tells you where it is. It just tells everybody where the rackf database is stored. All right, so now I think I got enough information now to start tackling this bastard. So from here, let's see, does this still work? Good. I'm going to FTP to the mainframe. Okay. Well, before I do that, I have a rec script here called bsroot for B-sides root, not bullshit. And I'm going to upload it to the mainframe. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can if I want to, but this is not, I'm not going to run it here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to FTP to the mainframe. And I know Dade, so I'm logged in as Dade on this machine, so I just logged in as Dade. And I know his password because I stole it from some login script. And right now, I'm just in his normal home folder, right? You guys see this? It's like all the same files that we had before. I'm going to go to the Unix partition just by typing /temp, and now I'm in the Unix part of the mainframe, and I can FTP files to here. So I'm going to put bsroot. You might see it already here. Maybe I was practicing my demo. But that file's been uploaded, and now I can actually change the file permissions from here. So I don't really care. Okay, so I'm done now with my FTP. Now let's see maybe if I have telnet access. Now telnet runs on 1023 for regular bare bones telnet access. I mean, it's not super special. Let's see here. So now I'm at like a regular Unix prompt in a shell. Let's see if I can make this bigger for you guys. There. Regular old thing. So now, when I run, sorry, I forgot I'm not in bash, so tab complete never works. If I run it, it's a good enough script. It's nice enough to tell me, hey, you didn't supply anything to command. You need a setuid rec script to get root. Now this has been fixed, okay? So don't run out of here screaming. This was fixed a year ago for this specific program that I'm using. It was then secretly fixed for all setuid rec scripts across the Unix environment without any notification to anybody. So I'm going to run this script, and it's going to give me root. Okay. So now I have root. Great. The only problem is I don't have access to this user's TSO address space. So that red screen, that stupid thing you guys couldn't see, I only have access to root things in Unix. I don't have access to anything else. So this user, and I know this user because I set it up, does not have access to any resources in TSO that I care about. So that sucks. But I know a user who does. I know two users, Plague and Margot. So how am I going to get their accounts? Well, I can just use a super simple backdoor, which you guys can't see. Let's do this. Let's see. Yes, I know. Let's see. Oh, good. They're using inet, so that's nice. I wonder, as root, I have full file permission, so I can probably change the file. Now I got to do something stupid here. Let's see if I can remember the stupid command set. But if I don't remember the command, but basically if I try to edit the file right now, it won't let me do it. And I have to do something like set term equals. Let's see if that works. No. Oh, thank you. No, it's fine, because I already changed the file when I was doing my demos. Just to save time. So what I did was, since I know Margot has access to all those files, I just created a backdoor with Margot's user ID to run a shell script. So So then now I just need to, I could technically right now kill inetd and restart it and it would reload this, but I don't need to because it's already running. So that's done. I don't need root anymore because I only could access the stuff on the Unix side, but I want full control of the mainframe. So now what I do is I telnet to the mainframe on port 543. Except what the fuck is this? Anybody want to tell me what those two characters down there mean? Anybody want to take a guess? I should have a shell. Yes, thank you. So I was hoping someone would know the answer. It hasn't happened. This is the first time someone knew. So yes, this is ebsidic, which fortunately I've encountered multiple times before when trying to do this kind of thing. And I got pissed. So I wrote a Python script to handle this. All you got to do is use net ebsidicat. And I don't want to display this logo. And now I have access to Unix with her ID. Great. That's just Unix. That doesn't really help me out all that much. I still don't have her user ID. I still have her password. And I couldn't change it from here. And with root, I can't sue around to anything. Like, I literally can't sue up to a user account. Just ask me for the password. Fortunately, I know where the RACF database lives. And I know she has access to the RACF database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it to a location that I know Dade has access to. With this super awesome command, ooh, Lord. Well, that's not going to work. I need to mind that.
So that // kind of access.
So the // is like,
A file. Let's see what's file.
yeah. Try this again. So now it's copying the file, right? Wait, I just do ls so that I know, okay, now it's done, it's copied the file. And if I do, I think I call it racar3, that's stupid. You can see I didn't really set the UMass properly, so now it's world readable by whoever accesses it. Very dangerous. I'm going to log off. I'm just going to FTP as Dade to the box. Let's see. Oh, now you guys know my password. Uh-oh. My super secure password. I was going to do like an EtherCap demo. That's why I put it as Batman, because it's easier to crack when I forget it. So now I just go to /temp with FTP, switch it to binary mode, because you want to copy the file in binary mode. And then I just get the file. It takes 4 seconds. It's like 14 megs. It's not very big on this tiny system. Now what I'm going to do, now I've already pre-compiled John the Ripper to do this work. So what I'm going to do, there we go. Yeah. So I'm going to use John the Ripper to strip the hashes out of the file first. Because I only care about 2 users. I don't care about the rest of them. I just care about 2 users. So we're going to try to do this now. Let's see, John the Ripper. No, I want to run. So I've given all of my talks in the past have talked about the hash format. It's triple des, for lack of, actually I think it's just des. And the seed is your user ID. So it's encrypting your user ID with your password. That's the hash. It's a little more involved than that. I have a whole article on that explains it. So I only really care about 2 users. So let's see. So I care about this user. And then I care about Plague, because they're both admins. Okay, so now I broke these earlier because I didn't want to deal with waiting for it to run during a demo. And now I get to see their passwords. Right? Now, normally they would be 8 characters long, but I didn't want to really. Great, so now you guys can't see the rest of the demo because we're going back to the mainframe screen to see. Oh, what's going on here? There we go. So I'm still logged in as Dade, and you guys still can't see Jack. And I'm going to log off. And I'm just going to log in as Margot. I know her. It was God. And I couldn't use Plague because we knew Plague was logged in, right? Plague was logged in, and you can't log in as another user that's already logged in TSO. So that's why I had to use someone else's ID. From here, I just alter my user ID, right? So ALU, for those of you who can't see, which is everybody. See, there we go. So and I'm going to give myself special. Now, special gives me full control of the security system database for the entire mainframe. I can give myself whatever I want. There's a file I want, whatever, I don't have access to it, I just give myself access. There's a port I want to open, but I am restricted from opening that port because I'm not a specific user. Whatever, I'll just give myself access. You have full control over the file permissions, not the files, the file permissions. Okay, and then I'm going to exit. I'm going to log off because Margot might show up and be like, hey, who's using my account, right?
Could you kick one of the active users off?
You can if you have like Opera access, right? You can. Well, I mean, you can execute TSO commands from the Unix side. There's ways. I mean, that's what the web server was doing, really, right? But you have to have a certain level of access to do it. So now I'll just log back in as Dade. Oh, gotta go to TSO. My super secret password. So I'm system special now. Now, this is just one user. They're going to find out that I've given myself special and I've done all this bad things. So I want to make sure I keep my level of access going here for as long as I can. And one of the easiest ways, a lot of mainframes have login scripts, really login scripts, that execute when you log in your personal folder, right? Folder data sets, I guess. So what that means is I know, let's see here, I know that when user log in, it executes this script, and now I have full control of the security on the mainframe, so now I can access whatever data set I want to access. So what I'm going to do is, I know Mr. the Plague uses one. There it is. And he uses, oh, shit. I don't have access to it. That's fine because I have special. So what I can do instead is give myself operations. Ooh, operations. If special gives me full control over the entire security database, operations gives me access to every file in the entire system. Does not ask for authorization. It just goes. So I just gave myself operations, but I'm still not able to access the file yet. I got to log off and do all that fun stuff. This is all getting logged. But who's monitoring those logs? Is it the mainframe guys? Maybe someone in operations notices you try to access a file. One of the thousands of users who get denied accessing a file per hour. Yeah, exactly. They don't. If it's running, they're not too concerned. There'll definitely be a trail. Like, all this is getting logged. Oh yeah, but you have full access. You could technically turn off logging, but they'll know you turned off logging because all of a sudden all this traffic that used to be there is gone. Yeah, actually, syslog runs in the Unix partition. And I think IBM zSecure will do real-time SMF logging. SMF is what's the logging part on the TSO side, while the rest of the mainframe. So anyway, so let me log off here because I didn't have access to that file. So now I got to log back in. A little slow here. We're doing some things. But now, so now if I list my user account privileges, right? Actually, I'll do in a screen you guys can see it. We'll do here. Let's see. Was it? There we go. Nope. Okay. So you can see I have special and operations here. Right? So that's my attributes there. So I'm not gonna. So I'll go back to the GUI, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fuck with this guy. So every time he logs in, it shows this script. It says, "You are the best," right? Good for him. It would usually be much more complicated than this. It'd be allocating data sets and getting you ready to use certain applications, but this is, now I'm gonna change it to, move that. I'm going to add one more line here, and I'm going to alter my user one more time. And I'm going to alter my user ID, and I'm going to give myself special and operations every time this guy logs on. So next morning, when he logs back in, they found the breach. They know I've done all these things. They take away. Now, technically, I could put another thing here that says, remove revoke from my account, but I can't remember what the command to do that is. So we'll just live with this. When they remove all of my special privileges from this account, next time Mr. the Plague logs in, it reinitializes them and gives me special and operations again.
So are they running it in privileges?
Yep, when he logs in. Right, so here, we'll exit that, and I think I have, so this is Mr. the Plague logged in already, right? You can see here, Mr. the Plague. So I'm going to log him off. And what I'll do here, I'll show you guys a quick example. So I'm going to remove my access rights that I just gave myself. No special and no operations. Right, so now I've removed those access rights that I used to have. So you can see here, there's no attributes anymore. Now when he logs in, his password was the same. He's going to log in, but it's going to show a real nice message down here that you guys cannot see. Eventually. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice little, that's cute. Someone gave me that little nice message there. Okay, whatever. Now I have special and operations back, because it ran with his privileges when he logged in. Right? So that's basically how you own a mainframe, soup to nuts. I had all these slides prepared with these awesome hacker movie backgrounds, but I don't need to use them because all my demos worked. We went through that, all this cool stuff. I'll put the slides online if anyone wants to read them. You can see every slide had a demo. It was just to sort of keep me on track if I forgot what I was doing. So, like I said, at this point, you've owned the mainframe. You have full ownership. You can access any file, any resource, whatever you want to do. You want to open a port. You want to do all kinds of crazy connections. It's up to you. Now you just start fucking around and start looking for things. All the HLQs, which is basically like the root folder, you can start looking for. You can start looking for interesting things. Start reading the documents that are in the document repository that talk about how the insurance company is storing all of the personal data in a specific HLQ for a certain app. Right? That's what you can start fucking around with this thing. As I promised, there's some homework for you guys to do. Now that you guys have seen what I was able to do in my spare time, literally just screwing around. I was like, oh, I wonder if this works. I wonder if this works. I wonder if this works. This is a fully licensed, available product from IBM. RDZ, the name changes all the time. It used to be called ZPDT. It keeps changing, but it was built so that a developer who was developing an application for the mainframe could run a virtual mainframe on their Linux box without having to worry about touching production. Right? It's the same concept as I'm going to run an Ubuntu image on my dev box so I can do rapid prototyping. Same concept, except it's virtual mainframe. Great thing is it runs a full mainframe that you can play around with. They didn't build it for security guys to screw around with, but that's one of the benefits of getting it. If you work in a large organization that has a lot of IBM mainframes or IBM products, you can get this product. Just call up your IBM rep and say, I want RDZ. Give me a demo license. I want to see if this works, if this is worth us paying a license for. Licenses can range depending on how good you are negotiating with IBM. Publicly, I think it's $30,000. non-publicly, you might be able to talk them down if you have, like, say, 45 LPARs running in your environment, right? You just have to be able to say, look, we got a lot of IBM shit. We want to use this to start doing some security work. It's not hard, and it's easy to set up, and they'll help you set it up. They'll come to your office and help you get it going so that you can start doing your testing. I want to do some thanks. This is the first time I get to thank a bunch of people. So the IBM mainframe community, as much as I was shitting on them earlier, they are extremely helpful. They really are. There are some, now not everyone is a jerk in the mainframe community. There are some really nice guys. There are some guys who help you out when you have questions. They're really nice. I'm not going to name them by name because they don't like me very much, like the whole IBM thing. But they know who they are. They're super awesome. The Swedish Black Hat community, so that root exploit, that was actually discovered by someone who did a breach over in Sweden. Me and Oliver had figured out how to do some stuff, and he was like, hey, can you take a look at this and see if you can get it working? I think there's enough code here to get it working from the breach investigation files, because what happened was half the program was in one file, and they cut out the bottom half for security reasons, and then the other bottom half was in a different file, and they cut the top half for security reasons. And it was also crippled, it was missing some things, but if you knew enough recs to get by, you could put it back together and figure it out. And you guys for coming out. Especially that gentleman right there who we've been chatting a lot about mainframe security and stuff. But really, I want you guys to be interested in starting to attack this platform, to starting looking at this platform. I really don't want another Stuxnet for the mainframe. Actually, the logic of breach was like Sweden and Norway's Stuxnet. Like, it was a big deal over there. I don't want that to happen here. I don't want to find out that some major bank gets compromised because, you know, they left FTP open on their mainframe and didn't secure the OMVS component because they didn't know a patch was applicable, right? But yeah, you can say whatever you want.
There's a when I first got into this, my background's not mainframe, but I have access to it, and you know, I don't know a lot of. Maybe I know enough to get by.
Just come on. There's a mic right here.
Yeah, sorry. So I got into this because my background is in you know, security, background's in Linux, but I have access to a mainframe at work, and we're one of those companies that gets really good deals on IBM software, and it's one of these things where you might be sitting out there thinking, yeah, but you know, my skills don't necessarily port. There isn't a person in here with some technical skills that doesn't port. So if you're a web security expert, if you're a network person, if you like to read Wireshark all day long, if you are into assembly, like disassembly or malware, any of that kind of stuff, like it absolutely encompasses everything. There is not a portion of this that doesn't need to be tested.
It's like the wild, wild west, and like it's like the internet in '96.
So get
right?
into it, find it.
Yeah, there's so many. I just don't have enough time to look into all the areas. This is what I had time to look in from like a super high level, just brushing the surface, and I found all this crap. And what I did was not that technical.
Did you mention Hercules
No.
or
One person I do need to thank is Dominic at Singe. So all my talk was about the operating system layer. He gives a talk about the application layer. He gave a talk at Hack in the Box. I hope he gets to do his talk at DerbyCon. Fantastic talk about hacking the application layer. It's like websites back in the day. So a good example would be the 3270 client. The mainframe says, hey, don't display this field, and don't let anybody change it. And then the person who wrote the app says, well, if this field up here says X, then this is the screen they're allowed to see. But don't show them options 3, 4, and 5 if they don't have this level of access. So he wrote a patch to the screen terminal emulator that says, hey, just ignore that crap and let me do what I want on the screen. And he was able to find some ODays and some applications that IBM wrote. So, it's ripe for plundering. There's all kinds of stuff going on in here if you just have the time and the interest. And email me. Feel free to email me. It's mainframe767 if you don't want to make it public. I answer all emails all the time. I point people in the right direction. I try to help people out. Any questions in the 33 seconds we have left? The gentleman in the back.
I just wanted to say thank you for actually
Yeah, well, I tried. That's kind of shitty. I apologize. And it's been a problem that we've had before. But you had a question, sir, in the front?
Yeah, Phil. So I saw that you're in a special group and you added yourself to the operations group. Does that make you in the special operations group?
He used to be military, so I'll cut him a break. Any real questions? Yeah.
What would it take, or what are the chances to get these companies to move to something with more maintainers? People that aren't hiring.
Millions and millions of dollars in man hours. I mean, we're talking about applications that are millions of lines long, written in COBOL. And COBOL's not that bad, but written in assembly for a platform that is totally foreign to the people who are getting trained on it today.
That might not be the right answer.
Yeah.
What it does, what it's good at, I would argue that there's nothing else in that space. We were talking earlier today about, like, if you think about, like, the airline ticket runs on the mainframe, large banks, transactions, things that have to be thousands and thousands of transactions every second. There isn't really anything worse. It sits in one box and should be run by a few people who know what they're doing. The skills to learn this aren't any harder than learning any other.
No, it's, when I was learning this, it was like the first time I popped in like Red Hat whatever back in the 90s, and I was like, what is this? How do I run Doom now? I have no idea what I'm doing. Same thing. I started this up, and I was like, what am I doing? How do I play Doom on this thing? You can't, but there are some games on the mainframe though, like Klingon and Star Trek. I'm not kidding. Cave Story. You can port it, my friend. Any other questions? Yeah. All the Red Books are freely available online. Let me show you. IBM publishes all their Red Books online, freely available. And there's all kinds of, all kinds of Red Books. I mean, this is a specific one for just tuning your buffer pool for DB2, right? But that's not what we're looking for. Let's do OMVS Red Book. Sure, let's click that, a PDF. So this is the Unix System Services. So OMVS, we were talking about, they call it Unix System Services or OMVS. This is for whatever release this is. And this is the implementation guide on how to implement it and set it up and how it works. It's really good. It is also 575 pages long, and it's one guide of 13. And it's all free. I mean, IBM's not stupid. They know that the skill set's moving on. They do a Master of the Mainframe contest every year, and they get a bunch of college students to sign up and do programming challenges on the mainframe. You have to do the development work on the mainframe, and it's really interesting. And then I asked them, I said, hey, what are you guys doing to train up security folks so we can make sure the developers aren't doing stupid things? And they said, we have Master of the Mainframe where we're training developers to write code on the mainframe. And I was like, okay, I get it. That's the answer I'm not looking for. So.
How different are the different mainframes?
What do you mean? So like you're talking like ZOS, iSeries, HP Nonstop, the traditional, what we think of. I mean, ZVM is another one. TPF is another one. They're all very different, right? Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can be a generalist. I know Windows and Linux well enough, right? Yeah. Yep. Yep. Now, if you're worried about your mainframe, the DoD has a great implementation guide for securing your mainframe, freely available. It's the only one that covers the whole operating system. Usually a guide just covers RACF. Yeah, it's the DoD standard. I'll show you guys. What's that? Yeah, it's one of the sticks, yeah. Security Technical Implementation Guide. Yeah, oh yeah, right. It's actually really good. It's the only doc I found. I was like, oh, that would fix. Basically, if I implemented this on that RDZ thing, none of my demo would have worked. Just none of it. Well, I would have gotten root if I didn't apply the patches, but everything else would have just been, nope, you can't do that. No, we can't do this. It's loading. So this is a STIG. It comes in a XML file format, and you need a special viewer to read it. But you can export it to Excel and use that to analyze it. I think, am I done for time? Yeah? Okay. So that's it. If there's any other questions, I'll just go out in the lobby if there's anyone interested in talking about this anymore. And thank you.